yeah, we have these incredible physical transformations that people see, but we've seen so much healing happen, and we've seen so much growth happen. And it's just been an opportunity for us to connect with people that maybe wouldn't even step into a church. But if we can be some kind of light of Jesus, whether it's actually having conversation or just planting a seed or just loving on them a little bit, like that's how we've always looked at it. And when we are open to just, we're like, hey, Lord, just bring us the right people and, show us what we're supposed to do. And when we've just been obedient to that, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times it's just been like tears and, just pouring these things out. And it's like, let's go, let's take it to the Lord right now. And I think we're also just in a time where it's very important that we be bold about our faith and about who Jesus is and what he's put us here for. We got to be lights for him. There's a lot of darkness.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode here on the Strong by Design podcast. So glad you've joined us. Another great episode. You're about to hear a conversation that is long coming. I've been meaning to have Diana and Micah on the show now for several weeks, and so super excited to hear about how they're changing lives and what they're doing in the world. You're going to really, really enjoy our guests today. People that I was introduced to several months ago from another friend of ours, Jason Milan, who has been on our podcast a few years back, and is a great friend of all of ours here at Critical Bench, comes for workouts. He's local in the Tampa area, and he said, you have to meet these two people. And lo and behold, they knew who Critical Bench was, and we'll get into that with a funny story coming up. But before I introduce our special guests, and I hope I pronounced their last name correct. I think I will. I don't know. I didn't even rehearse it or practice it or get acknowledgement ahead of time. I usually do that. I'd like to say thank you so much for coming back to the Strong by Design podcast. If you're a past listener of the show, if you haven't left us a review or a rating, please go ahead and do that. Whatever platform you listen to the podcast, we'd love to hear back from you. A past episode that you enjoyed, or past guests that you really liked and you'd like to hear from them again, or feed us some questions that you'd like us to ask, or how an episode really touched or moved you in some way. We would love to know. And if you're a first-time listener of the show, we're just so thrilled to have you. Always great to have just one new listener. And we'd ask you one thing: share this episode or this show with a friend or a family member. The best way to spread this show to others is really just through friends, coworkers, family members, sharing it with each other. And I know my wife is not an avid podcast listener, certainly not to this show because her husband is on it. But that's a joke. But she will listen to a podcast, and if she loves it, she shares it with me. She's like, you have to hear this conversation. And I think that's how people feel about podcasts. Very intimate thing, and it really it's like reading a book, a condensed book. It's like an hour of like all these great nuggets, and you just get excited about the information and want to share it with somebody. So we hope that show does that for you. So our special guests, Diana and Micah, and is it LaCerte or LaCerte?
Really close, LaCerte. But up in Canada, you can say LaCerte.
I was trying to make it sound like even better, if that's even possible. But LaCerte.
French.
So it's simpler than I thought.
That way.
Okay. So it's a no-no. It's shame on me, because typically if I'm not 100% sure, I ask my guests prior to, and I didn't do that. So darn it. And I've never been asked that question myself with the last name Wilson. People are pretty sure what they're coming into with that name. So anyway, Diana, Micah, it's so great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
That's great. After being introduced to you, and obviously you guys having a very busy start to the year, and we here at Critical Bench also are just all pistons firing, team growing, projects overlapping. It's been crazy, but finally we made it happen. So this is super, super awesome. So you both obviously are obviously very fit people. For anyone watching, Micah's arms are busting through his sleeves he was eating 3 pounds of raw meat right before we hit record, and no, I'm just kidding. And Diana, you both not raw. You both obviously have a great interest in fitness and health, and not only looking the part, but really like modeling it and living that lifestyle. And sharing that with other people and helping people. But what brought you two together? Did you meet in the world of fitness? Is there a funny story there that we need to know about? I want to get to know you a little bit better myself.
Oh wow, yeah, okay.
We're going out the gate with love.
Yeah,
let's
go.
So we actually met in person. The first time we met was in Las Vegas at the Olympia. And it was in 2008, and we had met not in person on MySpace. So it was MySpace.
Oh my gosh, yes,
MySpace
the predecessor.
In Las Vegas.
Yes. Oh my gosh, MySpace, Las Vegas.
Yeah, true love, MySpace in Las Vegas. Like, who knew?
Oh my gosh.
But we had messaged each other a little bit. We were both in the fitness space. I was competing quite a bit. He was doing a lot of modeling and doing a lot of the stuff with the magazines. And we had some mutual friends. I think that was probably how we connected. And it was like, hey, are you going to the Olympia? I was like, yeah, I'm going. So let's meet up at the expo and make sure that we take a picture and say hello. And that was the plan, was just going to meet up and say hello. And so we were wandering around the expo, met up, said hello, took the picture, and then we were like, what are you doing the rest of the day? And it was kind of instant, and we felt like we'd been friends for a long time. It was kind of an instant connection. We ended up hanging out together that entire weekend. You know, I was there to go see a whole bunch of other friends. He was supposed to go like hang out with a whole bunch of other people.
Sure.
We ended up just hanging out together, you know, just wandering the expo like you did, you know, back in the day, meeting everybody and saying hello. And by the end of that weekend, we were like, we're together. He went on MySpace and like
made it official
with his status, and then 2 months later, I moved to Kansas City, and we started Hitch Fit within 2 or 3 months after I
oh my goodness.
I mean, I am a true believer that when you know, you know. Like, people say that, and then, like, you know, I had dated before that. She had dated before that. I met her, and I was like, you know, I knew that it was something deeper. Like, I had looked at it, and, you know, when I share this story, I always talk like it was literally a gift from God, and I knew exactly what was going on. And I was a little bit resistant to it because I'm like, am I ready to, like, you know, go this? And I was like, man, if this is a gift from him, then I'm going to cherish this and make every ounce of myself, everything that I can be for this woman. And that's really what happened. A couple months later, she's in Kansas City, and we've been inseparable since.
Wow. Isn't that something? Wow, that's great. Yeah, when you know, you know. And some people are really good at pulling the trigger on that and taking quick action, and other people are like regretting, right? They're going, oh my gosh, that was a missed opportunity there. And you know, sometimes you don't get a second chance at things like that. And so good for you, Micah, for snatching her up before she ended up with some other cool looking buff dude at a Mr. O event, you know?
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I love that there was that instant compatibility, instant connection. I feel like my wife and I certainly had that early on as well, where I just felt like it was just an easiness being around her. We had so much in common, and both interested in fitness, and both loved sports, and both loved this and loved that, and you know, so much lined up, and it shouldn't take you years to figure that out. Sometimes it just takes a matter of weeks or months, and so that's pretty awesome. and Kansas City, which is odd as well, because it's my wife's from Fort Scott, Kansas, which I think I might have alluded. I think I told you that in a past conversation, which is just a few hours south of Kansas City area. So she grew up going to Kansas City quite a bit, and that's where your home base is, right? That's where you're still located?
Yes. Yep. So I grew up here a majority of my life in this area. She was in San Antonio when we met, but she's from a small town in Vermont. And so from Vermont to San Antonio and a few other places she lived, and then coming together. And then when she moved to Kansas City, she really, enjoyed it with the different seasons, us being central and being able to kind of go from coast to coast pretty quickly when we travel. And now we have an amazing football team with a guy named Patrick Mahomes. So it's been fun. But Kansas City is also one of those cities that's like, it's a smaller city, very family feel, a traditional type of feel, lifting one another up, taking care of small businesses. There was a lot of things that were alluring to us, but also with our specific business, we're not the most healthy and fit city in the world. And it was one of those deals where we felt, very called to really do our best to help get this city fit.
Wow. Yeah. And so obviously a big part of you coming together and HitchFit being like really right out of the gate, when you two came together, that kind of launched itself within a few months, you said, Diana. So tell our audience a little bit more about what that is and how you are helping people, and how did you end up doing it, going from kind of the brick and mortar side, right, to, and it sounds like it's a little bit of both, right? You're helping people in person, but you're also reaching people in the online way. So like, what does that look like, and how has that evolved over the last several years?
Yeah, I'll let you tackle that.
Okay,
please.
So let's roll back all the way to about 2006, MySpace. This is where social media marketing just really began. We're kind of like touching the very iceberg top of the tip of social media marketing. I was doing this thing called transformation. So in regular traditional gym setting, the goal is to retain a client as long as humanly possible. I was very driven off of client result, before and after pictures, storytelling. And so I started utilizing MySpace to do that. I was only doing that local, though, with just some clients in person, but I was kind of utilizing MySpace to kind of showcase my skills and my client success. This lady from Canada reached out and she says, man, I really wish I could work with you. What you're doing with those people in Kansas City is amazing. And it was a light bulb, Chris. Like, I was like, well, why can't I? And so I made this like very generic plan looking back at it now. And that is where online personal training for me evolved, and it came from. But the issue is online training at that point was non-existent. You couldn't look it up on Google and say, what is online personal training? So one of the biggest hurdles that we had to go through was explaining what it was and that it could work even if I wasn't with you in person. And so from that, we finally launched it in 2009, but we had really tested it for multiple years there. And since 2009, we've grown it to 82 countries and over 700,000 pounds lost. One of the leaders in that space. Later in 2009, we opened up our first brick and mortar transformation gym. We were the first transformation gym doing it the way we were doing it back in 2009. And since then, we opened all the way up to 3 locations in the Kansas City area. We're back down to 1 and just everybody at that one location. But if you walk into our gyms, just walls of before and after pictures. Ultimately, Chris, we wanted to wake up and do what we loved every day, which was helping people become their best versions, healthy, not only physically, but also mentally. And that's how HitchFit was born. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, it's really fun to go on. I can even see, I think some of the photos of looking at you two together, you could see you have the walls covered, I believe, in like transformation before and after photos. And I think nothing, for the most part, when it comes to advertising or marketing something, nothing really hits people like seeing before and afters. There's something about it. It's very powerful. it speaks thousands of words just because you can see the facial expression, the presence, the posture, the sadness to the joy. All of that kind of comes through the picture. And so it's extremely powerful whenever we are promoting or any programming that's fitness related. We typically have testimonials or images or photos that we can utilize, or even sound bites or video. And the testimony from people, or the testimonials from users of the program is the best way to really get interest in from other people. So that's fantastic. I know, and nowadays it seems like on every other corner there's some type of box gym or something that's not an LA Fitness or a World Gym or a Powerhouse. It's one of these kind of like Fitness 24/7, or one of these different named places that has the coaching, the group classes, all that stuff. But you were doing very specialized kind of one-on-one personal training and group with the goal of body transformation, or what's your concept at your place?
Well, the gyms have always been private training studios, and we've only done one-on-one. We really stayed in our lanes, and we had a lot of mentors early on that thought we were nuts. They were like, you need memberships and you need all these other things. And like, we still to this day, 15 years later, we don't make people sign contracts. We don't and we're really only most people come for 12, 16 weeks, and then if they feel ready or they've achieved their goals, then they're done, and they go out into the world and
take all these skills that you've taught them and keep it going for themselves. Yes, and a lot of people will stick around for longer because it's hard. Maintaining is hard, and really living the lifestyle. So there are a lot of people that stick with us for we have clients that are with us for years. But the majority, we never modeled it that way. We were like, we really want people to come in, give them the skills and the tools that they need so that they can go live their lives and they're not relying on us. That literally was our plan from day one. And people thought we were nuts because they're like, no, you have to have memberships. You have to have this. Yeah. And we're like, I don't want to do that. Like, we're going to do this because I feel like if I can transform someone, then 10 to 20 of their friends are going to want to come and work with me. And we really grew it organically. We lived in an attic. We didn't have any money. So we were just bootstrapping the whole way. I mean, when we opened that first gym, our first transformation wall, I mean, it was like this tiny little billboard, and we had 2 or 3 people on it. And, now it's grown to, I literally haven't printed out pictures in 4 years since 2020 because I don't have any space on the walls to put them. So I'm going to have to figure out what to do about that someday. But we were we just stayed in our lane, and we've had people over the years, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And we're like, but we love transformation. This is what we thrive on. It never gets old. I don't want to add all these other pieces. I don't want to be a membership gym and then have to have employees and have a front desk. I don't want that. All our trainers, they have their own keys. They make their own schedules. Wow. And we're like, well, we're 15 years later and we're still in business and very successful in business and still the top transformation gym in Kansas City. So I'm like, we got so much advice, but we're just going to do this. And I'm like, a lot of gyms, it's a couple of years and they're down for the count. So I'm we must be doing something right. You're doing something right. Well, you got really good at doing what you do well, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of circular thinking, but what I mean is, as you said, you stayed in your lane. You knew you were good at this. You have passion for it. Let's just go all in on this one thing and just put blinders on to all these other things that we could do and add in. And it's like, I like the places where you can go. And I know this is probably not Micah's he's not going to like this, but if there's a place that does a good job of just making burgers and fries, you don't have to make all the other crap. I just want the good burger and the fries. You don't have to make all the other stuff. just stay good at burgers and fries, and people keep coming because that's where they get a good burger. And of course, you can get a lettuce wrapped burger bun and skip the fries. So that's So what's funny is, as you're talking about that, Diana, like I said before, I moved to Florida many years ago. I lived in Connecticut, and in Connecticut in 2000, it was a crazy idea to have a personal training studio, one-on-one, where people don't have membership. They just come in, they pay for a series of sessions, right? There's no contract. And then they just come X amount of days a week with a scheduled appointment with a trainer. And I did that at a brand new place, and it was called Body Tuning. It's now since it changed. The same owner, it changed. He became a hockey performance place where he trains NHL players all the way down to stay-at-home moms in a really elite, amazing facility. But it started off as a very small 2,000 square foot one-on-one personal training studio, and people would pay big money to come and have a trainer with them, guide them through a great workout. And it was accountability, and it was fun, and it was something that they just a good environment to be in, and they could rotate different and try different trainers. They didn't have to stick to the same trainer all the time. And it was a great concept, and I loved it. It was just a pleasure to work with these people who were dedicated and came with really good intentions. Yeah, so that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that you've stuck to your guns and you're continuing to do it still to this day. So now, do you have kind of your own regulars, I imagine, like people who don't want to train with anybody else, they only want to work with you?
Yeah, I mean, we're not in the gyms a whole lot anymore, so
okay.
So we have like I'm in there Tuesday, Thursdays, but with people that I've been with for for quite a while. So because with all the other things and, new retreat business and all this stuff, we used to be in the gym like 50, 60 hours a week. So now we like to he loves being in there. And so he's in there a little more than I am, but just to also be there for the trainers and keep the culture and the community good. It's important for us to still at least be in there a little bit. But it's the people who are with me now are kind of like they've been with me a long time. They're kind of, they've been grandfathered in.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the way it should be. And that's good as owners of the business and the face of the business, to still have that connection to people and knowing what the needs are and being around for all the trainers to, follow in your footsteps and do it the right way. And that's really awesome. I applaud your effort, and gosh, 15 years later and it's still rocking and rolling, and that's pretty darn cool. So knowing that and going all the way back again to your early days, you were at a live event and you came across a funny looking guy wearing a Planet Tater shirt, repping Critical Bench and handing out Critical Bench t-shirts. What do you remember from that interaction?
Well, I gotta go back a little bit further than that. So I met the Tater Monster in 03, 04, 05, MySpace. And his posts were off the chain. I was like, dude, what sort of pre-workout is this dude doing, like Ultimate Orange? Like, what is going on with this dude? And then I met him in person. I was like, he's identical to his post. Like, he is crazy. He's like, he's like lifting girls over his head and doing just all this crazy stuff. But his heart, his passion, just such a good dude. And we keep in touch every once in a while on Facebook too. He just recently reached out. I was like, there, and I heard he got connected with Critical Bench again. But yeah, just a great guy. Ben's a phenomenal dude. So I've known him for a long time.
I wouldn't be surprised if my first time meeting him was probably that weekend.
Yeah.
Because he was always at the Olympia. And
08 is when you may have met him.
It surprised me if I met him then, but then we'd see him, every year
we would send him to these events. He would reach out a few months in advance and say, hey, the event's coming up. Can you guys get me in there? We say, sure, get you a press pass and get you all hooked up. And we sent him a big box of T-shirts or something to bring with him and hand out. We didn't know if he was keeping them for himself and just having people hold the shirts and then give them back to him. We didn't know what was going on. He was just such a crazy guy. But like you said, Micah, huge heart, Ben, just being a representative for our brand and going to events that, we couldn't get to. But recently there was at the Mr. O that was here in Orlando, and we got him to that one, the one here that Derek Lunsford just won, who's going to be on our show at some point. I'm getting connected with him through somebody else, and so I'll have the Mr. O, current Mr. O, on the show here at some point. But Mike went up to meet up with Ben, and so after not seeing each other in person forever. So Mike, the owner of Critical Bench, got up to Orlando and got to hang out with Ben for the day and see him and his antics and interacting with the fine people at the event. So that was quite fun for Mike. He has some crazy pictures, as always. And so that was good. But I found that hilarious. You shared after we got to talking, and you said, we know Ben Tater. I was like, Ben Tater? How do you know Ben Tater? And then you showed me the picture. I'm like, oh, my gosh. Yeah, I remembered that photo because I think I was like posting it or using it in like a Facebook post at one point or in a PDF promoting some kind of fitness program, because once it's our photo, it's our photo,
That's right.
And it says, oh my God, there's a pretty girl and a fit looking model muscle guy wearing Critical Bench stuff. Yeah, we can use that pic. And so hilarious.
Well, just to let you know, we got those shirts from Ben Tater, so he did actually give them out.
He did give them to you,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still have mine too.
When we spoke last, I actually wore it because I cut the sleeves off of it, and it's a tank top now, but it's one of my favorite little tank tops, and I've had that thing for a decade.
Yeah. You're long overdue. I will get your address. I'm wearing a Critical Bench shirt. We got a lot of things to send you. Yeah, I'll get your sizes and I'll ship off a large box of clothing for you guys. You deserve it after all that time waiting for new things.
OGs.
Yeah, we are OGs for sure.
Totally OGs. So what does this? So you're transforming lives, obviously in person and online, and how has that evolved and changed over the last decade plus, Micah? How is that reaching people who aren't? How does that feel different for you to be able to coach people up and reach people that are not in front of you? Because I think people listening are like, how am I supposed to stay accountable? How is he going to motivate me to keep showing up? How am I going to, keep going to get results?
Yeah. So, the initial passion came from not keeping clients forever, like we had mentioned, but to work with as many people as humanly possible and teach and educate, motivate, inspire them through the period of time that I had them. And, looking at it now, I think we just went over 20,000 clients that we've worked with, and being able to touch all of those human beings in some sort of way, and helping them through a tough period of time in their life. So many people think it's just a physical transformation, and it's so much more than that. People are going through rough breakups or grief, loss, trauma, whatever it may be, and we may be the only positive people in their life during that period of time. And so we have always, we had a lot of business people telling us you need to go with softwares, automated, all of that stuff. And we never did. Every email came from us. Every form of communication came from us. And still to this day, we do it to that level. And it's a lot of work, but it's why our success has been so high too, because we know from a human standpoint how aggravating it is to get on the phone and you're like, press 2, and then it's another, and you just want to talk to a human. And, so on email, if you know that you're getting response time from someone or a messenger or whatnot, whatever form of communication, and they're getting a response back and getting that question answered, it just makes them feel not only the motivation that they need, but also that level of accountability, because the way we're communicating with them as well is like, hey, we got goals here. You're going to go through life. You're going to have some tough stuff happen. I'll be there during that period of time with you, but you got to continue progressing forward. And I mean, we have clients reach out years later, like, I just want you to know that 12 weeks I had with you guys, like, it changed my life forever. And now I have kids, I'm married, and I've instilled these same values and principles in their lives, and that's what really hits us.
Wow. Yeah, that feels good, man. When you pour your heart into something and your passion and you're doing it from a good place like that, it's really powerful for people, truly life-changing, and it fills you up in a way that nothing else in the world can fill you up. When you know you've done something good for someone else like that. Very, very powerful. So that's so fantastic. I love that. So what was it then that shifted you in some way, or maybe this was always kind of there, but to where you're maybe a little bit more vocal about it, or you promoted a little bit more the faith element? Because obviously you can have fitness without faith, and it seems pretty bland and not really for anything at that point. But as you said, the physical meat, and the mental are closely tied, but so is the spiritual. And you're trying to kind of, as our show does, body, mind, and spirit, you're trying to blend those three things. Did you both make a decision at some point along the way where you were going to be more open with your faith when it came to these relationships in transformation?
Well, I'll start by saying, like, I've been walking with Jesus for the majority of my life. So for me, it was something, and for Micah too, it's been a part of the equation the entire time. And what we left out of the story of the weekend that we met was I knew that I liked him, but I had made a commitment to the Lord that I was never going to date somebody that didn't share my faith again. I had tried that. I was not going to try to change anybody. I wasn't going to be like, oh, maybe. I was like, if we were not on the same page with knowing Jesus, having a personal relationship with him as our Savior, it was a deal breaker for me. And so within 24 hours of meeting at, the Olympia in Vegas, I was like, I got to ask you a question, and I was like, do you know Jesus? And then kind of like, I knew I liked him, and I was like, but I have to know, because I don't want to, it literally would have been over if the answer had been no. And so the answer was yes. And so I knew that foundationally, we had a lot of really deep conversations about that weekend. And so foundationally, that was where we always were. And so when we started Hitch Fit, it was even with knowing that was our foundation of our relationship, of our business. And that as we've just gotten older, we were with an amazing church, with a very small church, with a pastor who poured into us a lot, like right after we got married. And we learned and we grew, and our relationship with the Lord got stronger individually and together. And I think it's just been a natural progression of our boldness as far as, but Hitch Fit was always a place that we saw as a ministry. It's always been a ministry for us too. And everybody's welcome to come. Like, we have people of all types of whatever, like anybody is welcome to come in. We want to love on anybody. We will help absolutely anybody. That's where our foundation is, and we'll always pour into people, no matter what that looks like. And it really has opened the door to, regardless of people are on the same page with us faith-wise, it's given us opportunities we have people, Michael literally yesterday had a guy come up to him at the grocery store and say, I follow you on LinkedIn. I have this issue. I know you're a man of faith. Will you pray for me? And so it's just.
So I did right here in the cookie aisle.
In the cookie
aisle.
There
you go.
But it's
no better place.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's made us so Hitch Fit is just, we have these incredible physical transformations that people see, But we've seen so much healing happen, and we've seen so much growth happen. And it's just been an opportunity for us to connect with people that maybe wouldn't even step into a church. But if we can be some kind of light of Jesus, whether it's actually having conversation or just planting a seed or just loving on them a little bit, like that's how we've always looked at it. And when we are open to we're like, hey, Lord, just bring us the right people and, show us what we're supposed to do. And when we've just been obedient to that, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times it's just been like tears and, just pouring these things out. And it's like, let's go, let's take it to the Lord right now. And I think we're also just in a time where it's very important that we be bold about our faith and about who Jesus is and what he's put us here for. We got to be lights for him. There's a lot of darkness. We're living in a dark world. So we're like, hey, we just got to be a light and just let people know who he is.
We're seeing what several decades of pulling Jesus out of things will do to a society. And so it's upon us to be able to speak his truth into people. And I'm still working on being a little bit more like Jesus in my own life. We all have our struggles, certainly, but I like to think that I have something, a light inside of me that shines on others in a way that makes me stand out in some way. And maybe people feel, when people walk into our building here at Critical Bench, I've heard this comment many times over the years. People are here and as they're leaving or this next time they come, they're like, it just feels different here. I hear that a lot. It just feels different. You guys are all so great. Just feels different. And it's like, well, I don't know. The only thing I can think is that it's Jesus here. We pray before meetings. Faith is one of our 7 core values here at Critical Bench, and one of our founding, just pillars of our "You Are Strong by Design" mantra, and it's always been there on some level before the podcast. We're very similar to what you were saying, Diana, is like faith and our Christian values and treating people that way. And it was always in our kind of our design in the business, but it wasn't really established anywhere. There was no missions or vision statement anywhere, or, there was nothing like that. And it would sneak its way into things. But then we became more bold with the podcast 6-7 years ago and just wanted to be able to share that faith side of the people that work for this business. And you don't have to be a Christian to be hired by us, but you certainly have to be open to it, because you're going to hear a lot of Jesus here. So that's pretty neat that, you can blend those things together, and I think it really creates a perfect storm of as you're trying to transform people. There's no better way to do it than to involve, the most important man who ever lived. So, amen. That's pretty awesome. So I love that you're doing that. Now you're taking it to a whole new level by actually doing retreats and live events. So I want to know a little bit more about. I've been on your site and seen some of these retreats and things that you're doing with people. And that these are available to pretty much anybody interested, correct?
Yes.
They don't have to have any history with you. What do these retreats look like, and how often are you doing them?
Oh, man, the retreat business has been absolutely fantastic from an impact standpoint. So our next one's actually at the end of May in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. So we typically have one tropical retreat, and then we do an adventure retreat. Whitewater rafting, zip lining in the mountains, hiking type of feel, and then exotic type of trip in a beautiful tropical location type of deal. And so the retreats are a place that we've created this very safe environment where everyone that is coming is there to pour into one another. Whether they're at a place of true healing or a place that they're needing more healing, we allow people to have a voice at these retreats. So we have mentors in place that are leading, but we also give them this opportunity to share maybe tough situations in their lives that they're going through right now or that they have gone through. And you see this beautiful thing that comes together that, Jesus filled very much so, but we have non-believers that come as well and kind of just are in that presence and see what is happening. And you see these people just breaking through barriers and setbacks in their lives over the course of 4 nights. We also infuse it with fitness and health as well. You don't have to be a bodybuilder or a fitness model to come. You come as you are, but we will encourage you to get healthy, physically and mentally. So there's these components and pillars that we put into place for couples and singles and bring people together to lift them as high as we possibly can, to build this community of amazing like-minded people that are there to lift one another up and build friendships for lifetimes. Like this Mexico retreat we got going on, we're renting out a really cool gym down in Tulum called Tulum Jungle Gym, which is a very popular gym with the giant dumbbells and whatnot. Yeah. And we're friends with the owners, just great people. And we're going to bring them down there for an excursion of a lifetime. And then we just have a lot of a transformation show that we're doing. We rented the theater there. So people are going to come and share their stories, whether it be weight loss or overcoming some really difficult thing in their life, and just give them an opportunity, a platform to share different aspects of their life that maybe they can't talk about anywhere else, and have that community set up for them to really go through healing and growth and leveling up in their life.
Wow, that's great. And these retreats are called SoulFIT Retreats,
yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
And how many people are able to participate in such a thing? I'm sure limited space.
Yeah, the Mexico retreats are 40 to 50 people, and then the adventure trips, we keep those to 20 people. And so and we're working on some other things that'll be just even smaller and more intimate, because what we're finding last year, our Mexico trip, we had almost 90 people. It was a huge, It was a huge group, and it was wonderful. But when you're in that big of a group, the number one thing we want when we put these events together, whether it's we did our conference in January or the retreats, is we want people to feel connected. We want them to feel a part of the community, and we want them to feel seen. And so that's like always the most important thing. I don't want anybody coming to a retreat and then feeling like I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel connected, I don't know what all those people were doing. So that's why we're like a little bit smaller, where we can, and then we bring incredible mentors in too. So it's not just us trying to pour into people. It's we have other people in place that are there. And when we say that, it's literally a lot of times just sitting and having conversations in the pool, and it just happens so organically, where this community builds. And it may be a conversation that they have with each other at dinner, or what they have with a mentor while they're hanging out at the pool, that is literally just like life-changing. Because we kind of are like, we're not here to put masks on and pretend like everything in our lives is perfect. We come in and we're just real. And we call it faith and fitness and that doesn't mean that everybody has to be on the same page faith-wise. Like you said, we have people of all different beliefs, non-believers. They come because maybe they're more interested in learning about fitness, or some of our mentors are really strong business leaders and, very successful entrepreneurs. They want to learn and grow from them. We're just always honest with where we're at foundationally. And so, like, don't be surprised, if you're going to hear about Jesus here, but it's never you have to be this to come here. Like, come on in, like, be a part of things, and we'd love to just hear you and hear your story, get to know you. We have couples, we have singles, and then of course fitness is a pillar. Obviously that's a pillar for our lifestyle, but even just for mental health and for our physical health and for relational health, taking care of this thing that we all get one of is so critical, important. for us to have high levels of fitness. Your physical fitness allows you to have higher levels of fitness in all these other places too, spiritually too. It's a responsibility. So we kind of mishmash those things together and create spaces. I like to say we create spaces where love thrives and where wounds are healed. And so people walk away and they're like, what just happened? And I mean, every trip we've had so far, people are like literally life-changing. They are building friendships together. People now, I think, want connection so much more than anything. We're living in this world of artificial intelligence and everything is online and everything is digital. And it's like people are craving time together with real people that care about them and want to empower and encourage them. And so I feel like that's what we're creating the space for. And as entrepreneurs, it's really fun to just be like, hey, let's try this and let's do this. And,
That's
just
right.
let the Lord lead and guide. And every time it's a really beautiful thing that comes to fruition.
That sounds awesome. And then for anyone who's inspired or interested and wants to participate, it would be SoulFITRetreats.com.
Yep.
And of course, I'll add all links. It'll be discussed again at the end and then shared in the show description as well, because I'm sure there'll be people that are like, ooh, I want to be part of something like that, an adventure or some beautiful tropical location I've always wanted to go to, but then have something else where I'm working on myself. I'm healing. I'm building relationships with like-minded people. I'm in a safe place, like you said, Micah. I'm able to get intimate with people in a way that could really maybe level me up, or help me in business, or just help me transform my body, or a combination of things. So that sounds fantastic. I don't know anybody that wouldn't probably benefit from one of those on some level. It sounds awesome. So you recently in January did something new and different, a live event when I was first introduced to you, and I was unfortunately at another event at the same exact time, and I couldn't go attend yours in the Tampa area here. But tell our listeners a little bit more about that, because that's not the just a one-shot Willie. That's something you plan on doing again, correct?
Yes, it was. We will, and yes, it was our first conference in Tampa, and it was probably one of the most challenging things we've ever done, putting that thing together. And so it was also one of the most beautiful things. And it kind of that all came about. Micah about 7 years ago had, the Lord gave him a vision that he was supposed to share the story of his childhood and the trauma that he went through in that first 18 years of his life, that he was supposed to share that so that he could help other people heal. And so he knew that 7 years ago. And so we knew that this time was coming when there was going to be a point where there was supposed to be a stage that he was going to share that for the first time. And in May of 2022, so about a little over 2 years ago, we'd actually, we were at the end of a retreat, and I was it was a wonderful time, and I was in devotions after, and I'm like, Lord, what are we supposed to do next? Where are you taking us with this? And he gave me a vision of the conference, and I was like, okay, we're supposed to, it's time. I've never put a conference together before, but it's time to step into that. And so we were obedient to that. One big piece of the story was when we started the retreat business, we actually had a couple that was our business partners that lived in Tampa. And that was why the conference was locked in to be in Tampa, because that's where they lived. And then February of last year, our business partner died very tragically. I mean, literally texting him 1 hour, and then 2 hours later, got a call that he was gone. And he was in Wyoming on a trip, and having the time of his life, and out in the woods and snowmobiling, and had an aneurysm, and they said he was gone instantly. So here we are thinking we're going into this with a partnership and with people that live in Tampa, and God had a completely different path planned out. And he kind of convicted me on the journey to that conference of when we said yes and stepped into it, we were thinking, it was almost like it was a reliance on, because we're going to have these other people that are helping us. And he convicted me leading into that of like, don't you rely on anybody but me. Like, I am the only one that you're supposed to be relying on for this. And so it was, there was a whole bunch of grief and all this stuff tied into that. And then Micah also mentally and emotionally and spiritually preparing to step on a stage and share the darkest, most horrific moments of his life in front of people. And so there was a lot of just build up coming into that conference in January. And I tell you what, it was absolutely beautiful and it was absolutely perfect. And the Holy Spirit presence was saturated with it. It was so beautiful. And it was like, only God. Like, that's the only way that we made it through all of that. And that it was so, even the speakers, like, we had the most incredible speakers. And the whole time I'm like, how do you get speakers? I don't know speakers. And God was like, here, bloop, bloop, bloop. And it was just such a beautiful combination. And, and taking that step of obedience, we're honestly, we're just in this place of like, what's next, Lord? Because that was a huge thing that he told us to do. And so it's kind of been interesting to see since January, like the new things that he's opening up and he's showing us for us to step into. So, wow. Yeah, but it was powerful. And at Critical Bench, we got lots of goodies.
Thanks.
So we got a lot of Critical Bench goodies.
That's right.
Even though you were there in person,
that's
right.
Huge
hit.
We got some goodies for you to hand out to some of the people in attendance. And I really wanted to. It happened to be the exact same 2-3 day stretch as a podcast Podfest that was up in Orlando, and I was out of town the same exact time you were in Tampa, which was ironic since I'm in Tampa, basically here just west of Tampa and Clearwater is where we're based. So, but our paths will cross again surely, because you'll be in Tampa at some point soon and can come for a visit. And we're our team has grown substantially in just the last couple of years, both virtually and under this roof, and we're busting at the seams, as they say. So we're actually in the hunt for our own a larger building. We're in a pretty big building right now, but we need a bigger one because we need more space for more bodies. And so who knows? It could be here that you visit, or it could be some new building in the area. Wherever we have to move I can't imagine moving the whole compound. We have a 4,000 plus square foot gym with lots of stuff in it. We have
done that multiple times.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've done that, so you know what that's like. Yeah, yeah, that'll be a fun few weeks or however long it takes to get all of that done. So yeah, what is next for you? Besides, obviously sticking with what you're currently doing with HitchFit, of course, but also with more retreats, more possible live events that are, and these events are kind of leadership, faith, and fitness kind of merged together as well. The same theme.
Faith, fitness, business, and personal development, kind of all we say faith and fitness, it's kind of the foundation, but then it's all these other things, and it's a little bit of a mishmash, but it's very unique and it's very powerful.
Yeah, and the conferences, think of it like, the speakers are the voice of the conferences, where the retreats, the attendees are the voice. Yes. And so it kind of gives a good balance between the two. They're very different, but very similar as well, foundationally.
Yeah. That's very exciting, and that's just so much fun. When's the book coming out? When are you two putting the book together? I'm sure he's nodding. He's like, yeah, that's been discussed. It sounds like a book. It sounds like a book is coming.
Yes. Well, Micah, we're putting together the book of Micah's story. And so and we had actually started working on it a lot last year, and we were trying to push it to be done by the conference, and there was all this resistance with the direction we were going with it. And finally we were like, Micah had his core group of guys, and they had a conversation. And it was like, did God tell you to have it done by the conference, or did you say you had to have it done by the conference?
Right.
And we both realized we're trying to push this through, and that's not what he said to do. So we kind of let it go and just focused on the conference and on him being able to share. But now it's been impressed very heavy on us, like, this is the next thing, get this done. So I literally, and I'm serving as the ghostwriter, basically. Micah's a great blog writer. He's not the great book.
Well, I sat down and I created 50,000 words. I was like, okay, I'm going to put this story into some sort of, a story that is somewhat readable. There's, when you get up and you sit back down, over a course of months or even a year, it's repetitive sometimes because you're trying to bring yourself back. And at the same time, I'm trying to rehash trauma. And so how difficult that is to then put it into story form as I'm getting emotional and trying to clear my mind to actually. And so her coming in and really taking it to a completely different level of structure and technical and still emotional of hearing my voice and her understanding it, she was going to be the perfect ghostwriter, because getting a ghostwriter that doesn't know my voice, then I'm not connected to it. I don't think the readers would be either.
Right. Wow. Very, very cool. Well, certainly, I'll be interested in getting a copy of that once that happens. Obviously that question was not something I anticipated, nor did I know you were working on anything. So that was just a natural, it sounds like we're going in this direction.
Yeah,
that's all that was. But this has been so much fun. So, yeah, now that people have gotten to know you a little bit better and what you're doing, where are the best places for people to come and find you on social and your platforms for some of your events or Hitch Fit? Obviously, I've already mentioned and stuff.
Yeah, so for me, just my name, Micah LaCerte. It's anywhere. It's a unique name. You're not going to find it anywhere else. So I'm all over social media there. Instagram, I have a page dedicated to helping guys with skinny calves build bigger calves. It's called Mr. Hitch Fit, and I built it to over 150,000 followers. It's insane.
That's great.
And so that is really dedicated to that. HitchFit.com, SoulFITRetreats.com.
Yeah, anything Hitch Fit, we're easy to find on any of the platforms. And then my main Instagram is at Diana Shalou, which is my other part of my name that's too hard to pronounce.
Shalou LaCerte.
Yeah. I could have said that too at the beginning, and I'm like, I don't want to get two names wrong because that'll really bug me.
We just go LaCerte. That I answer to all.
Shalou LaCerte. Okay,
yeah.
I can do it now. And for anyone wondering, it's LaCerte, L-A big C
yes.
E-R-T-E.
Yeah.
L-A-C-E-R-T-E. LaCerte.
Yes.
And Micah is M-I-C-A-H and
yes.
Diana, which is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to spell that. But this has been truly a pleasure. And I always love podcasting because I get to know people a little bit better, a conversation that, you're just not going to be able to have most likely if you don't just say, hey, let's dedicate an hour to podcasting. And I wish I made a joke several episodes back that I wish I could podcast with my wife or with my brother, because then we actually would have some good quality conversation that wouldn't be interrupted by children or all the distractions of life. It's such a nice thing to just really be engaged in talking with somebody else and be dialed in and really come to know people better. And so it's been just a beautiful story. You two are meant for each other, and the things that you're obviously doing, the lives, the hundreds and thousands of lives that you've changed and will continue to change, how powerful and fantastic is that? It can only be from God. And I just encourage you to keep going. You both look great. And so keep doing it. It's obviously working. It's obviously working.
Well,
so
Chris,
keep going.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for the opportunity. Keep smiling, man. Your teeth look great, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much.
And just keep smiling, keep inspiring folks. Thank you for all you do, brother.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, well, I'm blessed to be part of a great team here and to be one of the hosts here on Strong by Design, and get to meet fabulous people like you and share your stories with all of our amazing listeners. So just such a privilege, honestly, truly. So all of you, thank you so much. Smash that 5 stars. Leave a rating or a review. Please go to the platforms that we've just let you know about, HitchFitGym.com, SoulFitsRetreats.com, HitchFit.com, and look up the Skinny Calves Instagram with Micah. That's pretty cool. What was the handle on that again?
Mr. Hitch Fit.
Mr. Hitch Fit. And so if you got skinny calves and you're frustrated, I know some people with skinny calves. They can benefit from that for sure. Thanks again for coming back, and we look forward to another episode soon enough here. We release one just about every week, and sometimes a bonus episode launches on Saturdays. So we'll be back talking with you soon enough. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.